You are Locked On Dolphins POSTCAST. Part of Locked On Sports Miami on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What is up, Phins fans? Welcome to your Locked On Dolphins postcast. My name is Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And what a way to start the season. Did not look so good for a long time in this game, the opener at home against the Jaguars with that heat in South Florida, in the humidity, 92 degrees only, a little bit of a break for Jacksonville. Not to mention they're only coming down from Jacksonville. Usually it's the teams from the Northeast like the Patriots and the Bills come in Thursday who struggle in this kind of heat, but the Jags put it on the Dolphins early. It was not looking good. Miami's offense and defense very slow to start. So many key players missed a ton of time during the preseason, and man, it looked like it. I won't forget Herm Edwards, the legendary player and coach, telling me on ESPN radio earlier this year in an interview that we did that, hey, the first game of the season is really another preseason game now because so many guys do not play in the preseason. All right, first things first, Grease takes care of business. And that business is right now to thank you very much for being here. The season opener. We know you're going to make Locked On Dolphins postcast appointment viewing every single game this year. Right after the game, we will be right here. The Locked On Canes postcast is already doing very well. We're also available free wherever you get your podcast. That means Spotify. That means Apple Music. That means iHeart, Stitcher, Podbean, wherever you get it. We are here. And of course, Locked On Sports Miami on YouTube, part of the Locked On Sports Podcast Network, your team every day. And your episode today is brought to you by Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Man, it's nice to say that phrase, Locked On NFL, and use code, all lowercase, Locked On NFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5 from Prize Picks. And I have to give you full disclosure right here at the top of the show. Today was a dreaded win, no cover for me. I mean, you're going to put your money where your mouth is on FanDuel, right? I had the Phins -3.5 plus the over. The over came in, no problem. The Phins, they won it on a field goal at the gun, and that might not have even been kicked had they made the field goal earlier. So, yeah, we lost on the play, but we won on the game, and we got skin in the game and had some fun with it. That's what you do with FanDuel, Prize Picks, and all our great sponsors here with your Locked On Dolphins postcast. All right, let's get to it because the sequence that won this game for Miami was absolutely outstanding, right? It really, really was. And you talk about, man, when I look at the Miami Dolphins early on in this game, it was a big-time struggle for this team. And we really can't get too carried away and get into it too much right now without, and I'm changing the thumbnail right now, guys. Give me a little bit of room here as we go. There we go. Change the thumbnail on the YouTube, and that would be Tyreek Hill, baby. We got to make sure we have it up there for Tyreek and for the Miami PD to see in all their glory. And we don't know the full details of the incident before the game. We're going to get to that throughout the show. I mean, that's the biggest story of this game right now is the Tyreek Hill story before that game even took place. And we're going to get to that in just a second. First, Jason Sanders missed a field goal earlier in the game. Very rare for him to do that. Look, he's now 8 of 11 on 50+ in his career. And he's 8 of 8 on game-winning kicks inside of the last 2 minutes for the lead or the win. And he nailed that one today to give them the win. Great job by Jason Sanders. Tyreek Hill with the 80-yard touchdown to get him close. Man, oh man, he started the day just driving to the stadium for a game. He's the best player on his team. He's the best player in the National Football League. I don't know what happened. I wasn't there. I have my suspicions. I have my preconceived notions, as many of you do. Okay, I'm not going to say anything else about it because those preconceived notions, the videos we've seen, the incidents over the years, they're very fresh in our minds. And when you see Tyreek Hill, the best player on the Miami Dolphins, voted #1 player in the league by his peers before the season, when you see Tyreek Hill laying on the ground in handcuffs before the game in front of the stadium, yeah, that's just wrong. And something really needs to be done about that. Again, I don't have any more details. I'm not here to talk about the police incident. That's going to be a you-know-what storm for the PD, the Dolphins, PR. But the win makes everything feel better. Jason Sanders with the big-time field goal. Tyreek with the 80-yard touchdown, doing what Tyreek does. Also had a big block on the game-winning drive that sprung one of the running backs. So Tyreek Hill, pretty good game today. The 80-yard touchdown made it a big, big game for Tyreek. And you see the headline there. Reek scores, Phins win. That's right. Miami Dolphins win. We got some people going in the comments. What's up, Douglas? Very close game. Very close game. No doubt. He's in Scotland. How about that? NFL Sundays in Scotland, watching the postcast. And another guy in the chat, I want to say his name, says roller coaster in that game. And there's no doubt that it was a roller coaster. But look at it this way, right? You had all those guys not playing throughout the preseason. Waddle, Tyreek Hill, the running backs, they're older now with Mostert. And look at what Jacksonville's defense is. Jacksonville had not allowed a game-winning score in 29 games. Their defense, they had the sack leaders, that pair from last year. And in this game, they were really playing well, man. Travis Etienne never fumbles. He fumbled in this game. We're going to get to that sequence because that was a great sequence. When you look at the missed field goal at 13:33, and you're looking like, wow, that was really, really tough. You had Waddle drawing a big pass interference later on that drive. And, look, the defense really stepping up big too later in the game. And, you had a Jalen Ramsey pass interference early in the game and a nice job by Jacksonville early in this contest. And you look at their additions in the offseason, and Bigsby had a big game, 12 for 73. ATN's not an addition, 12 for 44. Didn't fumble all last year, had a touchdown today, but the big fumble late. And, you look at Brian Thomas Jr., the rookie, had 4 catches for 47 yards, the touchdown, drew the pass interference on Jalen Ramsey early in the game. But it really was interesting, right? I mean, when Miami's offense finally got on the board and a chain with the touchdown run from 1 yard out, you thought it was the pass from Tua. They get down to the 1, they punch it in, and that came with a little over 2 minutes left in the first half. You're thinking that they're going to be, within a touchdown. No, Jacksonville again goes right down the field and kicks the field goal. Cam Little, the 53-yarder at the end of the half. If you're a Jags fan, you're feeling amazing at that point because the Dolphins had gotten nothing going offensively in the first half. In fact, I have the first half numbers here somewhere. Let me just show you because they are so different from what we got in the second half. I'm going to give you the first half numbers here because the second half was a different ballgame completely for Miami. And, when you look at what they did in the first half, and I chalk a lot of that up to the preseason and guys just not playing. And that's what the NFL's become, right? I mean, look, they only had 9 first downs in the first half. They gave up 3 sacks, 0 for 2 on fourth down, had a drive stall out on downs. They were losing total yards. And it took that last drive. The last drive, they went all the way down the field. Before that, they were just getting smoked. Tua throwing the ball down the field. They had 29 rushing yards at halftime. So what changed in the second half for Miami? Well, there was a sequence that really jump-started this team, got them going, and that is how they were able to come back and win this game. But vindication for Tyreek Hill, shouldn't have to worry about being thrown face down on the ground by cops pulling into the stadium in his home city when he is the guy. Can you imagine that ever happening to Dan Marino? I don't think so. Well, it happened to Tyreek Hill today on the way into the stadium in Miami. And again, that'll be covered extensively. I'm sure Kyle will have it, Locked On Dolphins. You can get that anywhere. But we're here right now to talk about this game, and we are pumped with the Miami Dolphins and what they did in the second half of this game. After halftime, they come out and, they start to get going. The defense gets going. Good coverage by Javon Holland on the tight end Ingram. First drive of the second half, they get a 3-and-out. More from Javon Holland in a minute, and we will pick this up after the first break and recap the sequence of the game that completely turned it for Miami. It got the crowd into it. It was not the Tyreek Hill touchdown that did it initially, although that took it to Mach 10, and we will take you through that sequence and much more to a 4-0 in season openers. It did look it was in doubt for a while. Not an easy start for Tua and the Dolphins. They looked stuck in the mud a little bit in the first half. Why was that? We talked about the defense too, not the best start. Look, so many guys missing so much time during training camp to come out and get this win the way they got it after trailing the way they did in this game and to really make that statement. I mean, you think about this. You held Jacksonville scoreless in the second half. That is some defense right there by the Dolphins. You are watching your Locked On Dolphins postcast. My name is Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease, at Jim Grease _. Pumped to be here with such an important show and an important initiative like the postcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Still to come, breaking down more of Tyreek Hill's day, Tua's day. Jaylen Waddle with some big plays for Miami. The high-speed, big play offense finally got going, but the defense shut out Jacksonville in the second half too. What was the key for Miami? How'd they get going? What sparked this victory? When we come back on the other side, you'll hear all about it from me right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, Locked On Dolphins postcast. Your team, Phins up every day. And you everydayers know all about Prize Picks. I don't even have to tell you, but if you're new, let me kick it to you and explain to you about Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. That's right, Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Why? Because unlike other apps with Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers, right? Run those numbers. All you do, you pick more, you pick less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. For example, you want to get a win, you pick 4 to 6. You only need to win 3 more. If you pick Caleb Williams, 1 passing yard gets you a win every week in September with Prize Picks. 1 yard, an automatic win every football weekend in September. Make him one of your picks. That's one of the 4, one of the 6 right there with Prize Picks. You can win up to 100 times your money, and it's gone when September ends. But it's the best way to get in on the action with your friends and have some fun. It's available in most states: Cali, Texas, Georgia. Celebrities like Joe Budden, MMA champ Sugar Sean O'Malley, big fight at the Sphere in Vegas next week against Rob Dvalishvili. He's on Prize Picks leading up to the fight. It's the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy. I could keep going about the incredible things that you have at your disposal with Prize Picks. I love to do it. It makes everything more interesting with the games. Look, Tyreek Hill, more than 90 receiving yards. Dak Prescott, new contract, more than 263 pass yards. Josh Allen, less than 240. CeeDee Lamb, more than 96 receiving. Hey, those are player projections that you could be looking at today. All you have to do is download the Prize Picks app and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly when you play 5. 10x it. Locked On NFL is the code on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It is guaranteed with Prize Picks. Run your game. Absolutely, with Prize Picks, no doubt about it. Awesome sponsor here on the show. Also want to remind you that this show, Locked On Dolphins Postcast, is sponsored by BetterHelp. And if you don't know what BetterHelp is, I am about to tell you. BetterHelp, absolutely. Picking my way through the copy here. Something you'd love to learn as an adult. Like me, we're always learning every day, right? Do you make time to learn new things as often as you'd like? Or was that lost in childhood? I hope it wasn't, because learning is the key to life, right? Kids always learning, always growing. But as adults, sometimes we lose that curiosity. What's something you'd like to learn? Gardening, a new language, maybe how to finally beat your best friend in bowling? I could never beat mine. He almost went to the PBA Tour. Therapy, though, can help you reconnect with your sense of wonder, because your back-to-school era can come at any age, meaning you can get that wonderment and that excitement and that curiosity back. If you've benefited from therapy, you know what I'm talking about. I've been doing it my whole life. I have definitely benefited from learning and knowing myself, connecting with myself spiritually in my own ways, coming to grips with the things that I've faced in my life, and attacking my life every day to get where I am now. And I'm very excited with the direction I'm going. Would not be there without therapy. And it has been a very, very important part of my life. So I'm going to get real with you right now. I already have, and I've let you know there's no reason for you to feel any kind of way about doing therapy. No matter who you are, what's going on in your life, you can benefit. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon for BetterHelp. The new Locked On NFL is here. Locked On NFL is now 2 shows every day. 2. Count them. First, the madman, Tyler Rowland, kicks off your morning with a double shot of NFL espresso. Nothing wrong with that. I prefer 4 myself, but double shot's a good way to get it going. Then you stop by the barbershop with Tony Wiggins for some real NFL talk. Add in the Locked On local experts, and you get unprecedented NFL insight, hot opinions, detailed breakdowns, all in 30 minutes. It's the new Locked On NFL, and it's twice a day. Make the madman Tyler Rowland and the barber Tony Wiggins your second listen at the new Locked On NFL on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. All right, let's get back to it. Your Locked On Dolphins postcast. Miami 20, Jacksonville 17. The defense holds the Jags scoreless in the second half. Tua Tagovailoa and the offense finally come alive. They score the late touchdown early in the first half, and I told you I was going to look at Tua and Tyreek and break down the offense a little bit more, first half versus second half. But first things first, we want to give you a look into the sequence that changed the whole entire game here. And where is it here? There we go. All right, yeah, definitely. Yes, here it goes. Okay, so by the way, Bailey, the punter for Miami, with 2 punts inside the 5-yard line, and the second one is what set this all up. So the Dolphins have the ball, right? They get the 3 and out to start the second half. They move the ball down. Jacksonville gives them a gift and literally gives them a short field, and they're able to get in there and get a field goal because of it. So they get the short field. But here's what happens, okay? As Jacksonville is going in to score, the ball gets punched out by Javon Holland. So Bailey pins him inside the 5 after Tua takes the sack. Miami goes all the way down the field. Their defense stops him on 4th down. Tua gets the ball. And how about this, okay? The Jaguars get the sack on Tua. He takes the sack on 3rd down. Out of field goal range. Big mistake by Tua. Got hit by the ankle as he was spinning away. He thought the rush was going one way. Got hit in the ankle as he went the other way. Bailey pins him down within the 5. Jacksonville comes right out of there and right down the field again. ATN's on his way into the end zone with the football. Javon Holland punches it out. He punched it out. He had a big play on coverage earlier in the game. He punched it out. And again, a big game for Holland. And that was right there. As ATN's looking like he's going into the end zone, Holland punches the ball out. And after he punched the ball out is when things really got interesting, right? Because that's when Miami really got going. After that, they got the ball on the 20-yard line. And right at that time, I'm asking myself, as everybody probably is, where is Tyreek Hill? At that time, he had a couple of catches, not a lot of yards, maybe 8 targets, 4 catches, not a big game at all. The only thing we saw before the game was Tyreek Hill face down on the ground in handcuffs from Miami PD. Did start, did play, and then what happens? They use the misdirection. They fake it out to the left. Tua drops back, bang, 80 yards to Tyreek Hill, outruns the whole entire defense, changes the whole entire game, and just like that, it's 17-14. The Jags were up by 3 at that point, and again, the Dolphins held them scoreless in the second half. The Dolphins missed a field goal right after that with Sanders that obviously they stopped the Jags on downs. They missed a field goal. So the fumble, the touchdown, they stop him on downs. They missed the field goal with Sanders, and it wasn't even a long field goal. I mean, it just wasn't. 42 yards, just wide left, just missed it. And that's uncharacteristic for him. He would make up for it later on. But then the defense again, 3 and out. And they did it throughout the second half. The Jaguars' second half possessions, man. I mean, you look at punt, fumble, downs, punt, fumble, downs, punt, fumble, downs, punt. Those are your possessions for the second half for the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Miami Dolphins defense stood up big in this game. You know what I'm saying? And really, Jalen Phillips had a big sack in that run. And you know what? I mean, it just was really nice to see that defense stepping up the way that they did. Tua to Tyreek with the big play. You know what I'm saying? And how about Ogba with the 2 sacks? No Bradley Chubb. He's playing that spot, and he had the 2 sacks in this game. So you have the Miami touchdown, the Jacksonville field goal, the 3-and-out from the defense. Tua takes the sack, the great punt by Bailey. Holland forces the fumble after Jacksonville goes right down the field. The 80-yard TD to Tyreek Hill, then the missed field goal, right? And then after the missed field goal, and you're thinking there, oh, man, the defense comes right out. Boom, forces a punt right away. Huge. Then they come down and tie it with the field goal. Then they force another punt. Then they come down and win it. So the missed field goal followed by the 2 made field goals back-to-back in the fourth quarter give Miami the huge win, 20-17. And after this break, we're going to come back and break down what we saw from the offense and the defense as we move forward toward Buffalo. Very slow to develop. You could see the lack of playing time in the preseason. You could see it all over this team, offensively, defensively, big time in the first half. To their credit, in the second half, they cleaned a lot of that stuff up. And also, let's not forget, they were playing one hell of a defense today in Jacksonville. You are watching your Locked On Dolphins postcast. My name is Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease, at @JimGrease_ on social media. Kyle Krabs every day with Locked On Dolphins. You won't find any better coverage anywhere. We also have Locked On Canes with Alex Dono and Locked On Canes postcast with yours truly. We got the triangle. It's the Rock in here. But the Dolphins, 1-0, a game they had to win early in the season at home. You have to win these September games at home when you're Miami, because you're going to get those January games on the road. And they only have one more game at home that starts in the early kickoff time, and it's not in September. So there goes that big heat advantage and humidity advantage, although with the Bills coming down. Come on, even if it's at night, they will be feeling it. We'll continue in just a moment and let you know why, and kind of let the cat out of the bag a little bit. Things started so slowly with the Dolphins today. We'll talk about that effect moving forward. Will it linger? We'll tell you next on the Locked On Podcast Network. Locked On Dolphins postcast, your team every day. But first, I have to tell you how much I love going to live events. If you were at the game today, give me a holler. You know what I'm saying? I love going to Dolphins games early in the season. I've always loved sitting out in that crowd, sweating. I'll never forget Dan Marino to Irving Fryer on 4th and 5 in the Drew Bledsoe Marino comeback game from the Achilles in 1994. I was right there in the corner of the end zone when Irving Fryer caught that ball after Danny checked down to the throw on 4th down. And I'll never forget games like that or any of those big-time Dolphins wins over the Patriots over the years when Brady would come down in September. And it's so much easier now because of Game Time. They have Game Time Picks, which is literally going to make getting tickets to your favorite sporting event easier than anything you've ever done. It eliminates all the fluff and only shows you exactly what you want, the best deal for the best seats to the events you want to go to. And Game Time Picks is all about that. But it's not just about Game Time Picks with Game Time. They have everything you need to make buying tickets the easiest and best experience as you head into it that you've ever had, right? Game Time Picks curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. They do all-in pricing. Toggling this feature shows the total up front. No surprise fees at checkout. And you have to turn on that feature, by the way. Make sure you turn it on because it's worth it, and it'll definitely give you everything you need right up front. You get seat views, panoramic, every seat in there, so you can see what you'll be seeing after you get the seat. You know what I'm saying? Lowest price guarantee, or Game Time's going to give you 110% of the difference in a credit. Game Time ticket coverage, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So what you're going to do, brother, you're going to take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time is what you're going to do. You're going to download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNFL, Locked On NFL, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Time is it? Game Time on the Locked On Podcast Network. All right. Jim Greasehaber, call me Grease, got some comments in the chat real quick. Tired of the easily seen screens? Yeah, a little quieter in there. All 4 running backs. Douglas, good job. Douglas says, I was impressed with the use of all 4 running backs. Jeff Wilson really moved when we needed. He moved it. And Ingold, a couple of carries there too. Nice job by Douglas. And yeah, it definitely is a Hard Rock rocking 2 days in a row. 305 on fire. That is right. No doubt about it. And we are pumped to have you guys in the chat. We're pumped to have you guys here with the show. So what was the difference second half from the first half? Was it the crowd? Was it the team finally waking up? What is it, the halftime speech? What was it? Was it the adjustments? Was it that they were finally getting used to it? Well, let's be real. A lot of what happened in the first half was because the Jaguars' defense is so dang good. And I already gave you the numbers, right? The Dolphins gave up 3 sacks in the first half, none in the second. They held the Jaguars scoreless in the second when they scored 17 in the first. It was definitely a tale of two halves. So what was it about the first half and the second half? Well, Tyreek Hill, Jaylen Waddle, Mostert, and Achane, all those guys, hardly any action in the preseason, if any at all. Jalen Phillips on the sideline, so many. Jalen Ramsey had a pass interference early in this game. He didn't play. So when you look at the preseason, it's become a joke. The Jags played everybody in the preseason. Look, they were 4-29 over 2 years before Doug Peterson got there, and 18-16 the last two. Okay, or either his first 2 and the second 2, whatever it is, 18-16 the second 2. This year, they had the weapons on offense, and those were starting to pay off. Looking at Brian Thomas Jr., and Christian Kirk, still a weapon, had the 30-yard catch today. But this team is loaded, and they played their weapons during the preseason. The Dolphins didn't play their guys, so you're coming out there on the field, and I don't care how many times you practice. If you don't believe me, listen to Jimmy Cephalo and Joe Rose and all these guys day in and day out. All the same, you have to get that continuity. You have to have, it's not just the practice reps, it's game speed, game execution. And it took them a half to get that down. The game looked like it was moving too fast for the Dolphins in the first half. Jacksonville's defense looked a lot faster. Their offense, their running game, Jacksonville definitely looked way more in sync. And I directly attributed that to the number of reps they got in the preseason together as a unit compared to the Dolphins on both sides of the ball, but in the second half. And I don't think the heat and humidity was that much of a factor because they practice in it every day in Jacksonville. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think that's necessarily a huge factor. I really don't. I think what it was the Miami Dolphins defense flying to the football. I don't think Trevor Lawrence is a great quarterback. I think they stepped it up with the coverage. Holland saved their butts because if ATN goes in the end zone there, this is a completely different show. It's a blowout loss, and you're wondering what's wrong. This is almost a suicide hotline right now, football suicide. I don't want to make light of it, but you know what I'm saying? Early in the season, here we go. Bills are coming in. We're 0-2. Oh, no, here we go again. So much happens. Tua saves the day. Tyreek Hill outruns everybody on the 80-yard touchdown. Look, we talk about this all the time throughout my life at 52 years old. I don't want to address it with the police. I don't know the facts. I know enough to know to shut my face. But to finish the game the way that Tyreek Hill did after starting the day, the way he did face down in handcuffs, that's unbelievable. What a job by Tyreek Hill, superstar wide receiver, again proving why that contract is the best move the Dolphins could have made. Waddle, they paid him. Huge plays in this game today for Jaylen Waddle that got the Dolphins offense going at a time when nothing else was happening. It was Waddle who drew a penalty, Waddle who caught a ball on a big completion from Tua and got things going for the Miami Dolphins offense. We're going to give you the numbers right quick. Look, Tua Tagovailoa, 23 of 37 for 1 touchdown, no interceptions in this game. Had a touchdown pass that looked like it could have been to Achane that he was ruled down inside the 1, and then he ran it in on the next play. How about Jeff Wilson Jr. leading the team in rushing, 5 for 26. Achane, 10 for 25 and a touchdown. Mostert, 6 for 9, and that's abysmal from the running game. And Jalen Wright inactive today. Wilson on 5 carries coming in as a change of pace in the fourth quarter. Moves the chains, though, and it was huge in this game. And let's not forget the 2 carries for 9 yards from Alec Ingold, both for big and key first downs in this game. Love the Dolphins using the fullback. I was a fullback. Love it when the Dolphins use the fullback. How about Tyreek Hill? 7 for $130 and the touchdown, 80 of them and the touch on 1 play. Waddle, 5 for 108. How about 12 catches for 238 yards for those boys who didn't play in the preseason? Most of that, almost all of that came in the second half. They weren't up to game speed. They weren't ready. It's easy for me to say. Mike McDaniel might refute that. The players might refute that. I say, you see, they weren't ready in the first half. You have to get up to game speed in the NFL. no matter how many times you practice, I don't care if you're practicing with or against another team, even preseason games, which they didn't have anyway, it's not the same. But that depth from the receivers, didn't see any of it today. Hill and Waddle, pretty much the only guys besides the running backs out of the backfield. Barrios had no catches. OBJ's out for 3 more games. That's a concern. The running game's a concern. The O-line definitely a concern. The defense gave up a lot on the ground in the first half, but their performance in the second half, absolutely phenomenal to keep it going. Let's see. And by the way, Chain had a really good game. He had 10 for 25 on the carries and 7 for 75. So he had a 100-yard game, and he had a touchdown. So in this era of the NFL, catching passes as a running back can be just as good. How about David Long Jr. with 8 tackles, 7 solo, and a great, great game for Emmanuel Ogbah. Had 2 sacks, I thought they said, but it shows him for 1 here. But a big one of Lawrence late in the game for sure. Calais Campbell had a sack in his debut. Jalen Phillips had a sack. The pass rush and, the run defense without Christian Wilkins in the second half, stopping Bigsby and Etienne dead in their tracks after they had their way with them in the first half. So the tale of 2 halves, I think, had a lot more to do with the lack of preseason action than it did with anything else. And I'm going to stick to that because I believe that's what happened in this game today. If you're looking at the numbers overall, Miami cleaned it up and won overall. The team stats, they ended up with more first downs, more passing first downs. Third down efficiency, 8 for 16. That's good. Did not start well. Jags ended up 2 for 10. Great job by Miami on third down efficiency overall. They end up with 400 total yards. Shows you how explosive they are, how great they can be when they did practically nothing in the first half. I think 130 total yards, and like 60 of them came on that last drive, maybe even more. So that's what got them going. Early in the game, they took the 3 sacks. They had the 4th down that they did not convert. They had the penalties, still ended up with 9 for 103. They got to clean that up. Only 83 yards rushing, 128 for Jacksonville. They need to clean that up. But time of possession ended up being 33-10 for Miami. So not bad there after the start. They were favored by 3.5. Win, no cover. The over-under, you know what I'm saying? And, it was, the over-under was 49.5, and they didn't go over either. But, man, oh, man, it was still a lot of fun watching this game and watching the Dolphins offense get on track. Because let's face it, guys, this was a huge game for them to get going. They had to win this game at home. You have to win the September 1 o'clock games, and not a good break for Miami that it was another Florida team coming down. You want those Northeast teams coming down for these early kickoffs early in the season. The NFL not doing the Dolphins a solid there. But you have Buffalo coming in on Thursday. It'll be a nighttime game. The humidity will be real, though, in the heat. Josh Allen and the Bills, you know what I'm saying? Like, not an easy time today by any stretch of the imagination for Buffalo at home in their opener against the Cardinals. But man, they're coming in here, and they won that game 34-28. Josh Allen with a big game wills them to the win, 4 touchdowns. He is one of the best QBs in the league. Phins defense will have their work cut out for them on Thursday night as Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills come in. And how about that, man? Allen and the Bills coming in on Thursday night, national TV. Not going to want to miss that one. You go to Seattle after that. Tennessee comes in, and then at New England to start October. But Allen and the Bills, a huge divisional game, a home game. You have to win the home games in September. You have to win the home games in September. You cannot be going on the road to Buffalo, right? And they do go to Buffalo in November, not December. But still, you go there in the cold. You got to win at home in the heat. Is what it is. You know what I'm saying? And you got Tua trying to build here, Waddle and Hill with a chain, and then Mostert, you got to get him going. And you know what I mean? Jalen Phillips playing really well on defense today. Really well. And I was encouraged by that. Calais Campbell had the sack, and I think they flew to the football in the second half. The coverage was phenomenal. Later in the game, they rattled Lawrence a bit too. So great win for the Dolphins to start the season. Second half, right? There were bad mistakes. There was the missed field goal. There was Tua taking the sack. The defense letting them go down and get the field goal late in the first half. The penalties, no rushing yards. A lot of things to work on. A lot of stuff for Kyle Krabs to talk about day in and day out. You everydayers know this all week with your Locked On Dolphins, and you won't want to miss that with Kyle. The great coverage here on the network. Locked On Canes with Alex Dono. The postcast with yours truly. Marlins postcast still coming your way as they wrapped up their series with the Phillies today. But the Rock was rocking, baby. 2 games, 2 wins. The Canes beat Florida and Florida A&M. They're 2-0. The Dolphins open up the season with a comeback win over the Jags, another real good potential playoff team. Don't be surprised, Miami, if you see them again, and you know when that will happen. Playoffs, baby. Lawrence and Tua, these 2 teams making their way toward the elite. I think these 2 teams, these 2 quarterbacks will be seeing each other a lot more as the years go by. What a start to the season. What a start to your Locked On Dolphins postcast, regular season edition. Jim Greasehaber, call me Grease. After every game, we are here as soon as that game ends. We'll be right here live with you. Instant reaction, Locked On Dolphins postcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Day by day, every day, as you know this, Locked On Dolphins, Locked On Canes, Kyle Krabs, Alex Donald. You won't find better coverage anywhere than with those 2 dudes on the Locked On Podcast Network. Real quick, the new Locked On NFL is here. 2 shows a day. Tyler Rowland, the Madman in the morning, and the Barbershop with Tony Wiggins. After that, the local experts, the unprecedented NFL insight, hot opinions, detailed breakdowns, all in 30 minutes a day. It's the new Locked On NFL, and it's twice a day. Make the Madman Tyler Rowland, the Barber, Tony Wiggins, your second listen at the new Locked On NFL on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. I want to know what Tony would think about this beard that I did myself. What? Yeah, baby. All right, Kyle's going to have a lot to say about this game. Big weekend at the Rock. The Canes win. The Dolphins win. South Florida football, just the way we've been talking about, baby. The Dolphins, could this be the year? The Canes, are they back? We have been starving. This is the best start to a football season with the expectations we have had in a long time. And this weekend ended up exactly the way we hoped and thought it would. Let's keep it going, baby, right here. Locked On Dolphins, Locked On Canes on the Locked On Podcast Network. Until next week, Phins fans, and it won't even be next week. It'll be Thursday night, 8:15 kickoff. Right after the game, we'll be here. The hated Buffalo Bills coming down to face the Dolphins. Going to be a huge game. Watch Kyle all week to get ready. And then Thursday night with the postcast. Until then, my name is Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease. And I have one more thing to say. It's a tribute to my mentor, Jim Mandich. I say it after every show. The Mad Dog, Dolphins legend. That's all there is, Miami. There is no more. The Dolphins win. The Dolphins win. Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins. 20-17. Real quick. Tua with the big second half. Waddle and Hill making it happen. Tyreek, the 80-yard touchdown after being face down in handcuffs from Miami police on the way into the stadium. They don't run for over 100. The defense shuts out Jacksonville in the second half. And Miami is 1-0. Let's go, Phins. Phins up. Big game Thursday. And we will be here with your Locked On Dolphins postcast right after the game. Keep your game tight and your mind right, Miami. 1-0, baby. Phins win. Locked On Dolphins postcast. Jim Greasehaber, call me Grease. We'll be here Thursday after they beat the Buffalo Bills. Let's go.